The storm clouds were still hanging low over the highway when Michael Turner stepped off the military transport bus, his boots sinking slightly into the wet gravel, his heart pounding with a strange mix of relief and dread after 4 long years deployed overseas. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times. His wife Emily bursting onto the porch, his little boy Jacob running with outstretched arms, the warm yellow lights glowing in their windows like a promise, waiting for him, but the stillness that greeted him felt unnatural, almost heavy, as though something inside the world had shifted his home. The small blue house on Willow Creek Lane in Boise, Idaho, stood silent and dark against the dusk, as if it no longer remembered him. The key trembled in his hand. Even before he touched the lock in that fragile second, he knew something was wrong, terribly wrong, and the life he had imagined returning to might no longer exist if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of human hearts to keep going even when everything feels broken. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe right now. It truly helps stories like this reach others who need them. Michael stepped inside, and the hollow echo of his own footsteps made his stomach twist. The house smelled like dust, stale air, and time. Too much time. The living room stood stripped and bare. The walls were empty, the couch was gone, and the family photos that once lined the mantelpiece had disappeared without a trace. Only faint marks on the wall remained, where frames had once hung. He walked slowly, almost afraid of what he would find, as he made his way through the rooms that had once been filled with laughter. The kitchen counters were clean, too clean, like a staged home waiting for strangers. The small dining table they used to share meals at was missing. The refrigerator was unplugged. The silence felt like an entire story told in the absence of sound. He reached Jacob's old room and found it completely empty, except for a single crayon wedged in the baseboard corner. Green, the color Jacob used for drawing trees. Seeing it cracked something deep inside him, he sank onto the floor, pressing the crayon into his palm so tightly it hurt. Deployment had taken much from him: peace of mind, sleep, the comfort of certainty, but he never imagined it would cost him his family. Too, he had written letters every week, sent video messages when he could, prayed that time and distance would not dim their love, but somewhere along the way, something fractured beyond his reach. The world he had built for them, the promises he had made, all felt like they were slipping between his fingers like grains of sand. That first night back home, he lay on the carpet of the empty house, staring at the ceiling, and listening to the faint hum of the street outside. He had seen men break in war zones, but nothing compared to the quiet breaking of a man who returns home expecting warmth and instead finds emptiness his neighbors hadn't known what to say. Those who still lived on the street looked at him with pity, shock, and confusion. Few mentioned that Emily had moved out months ago, saying she needed stability for Jacob, saying she didn't know when Michael would be home. Others admitted they had no idea where she had gone. The next morning, he found a small lockbox tucked behind the old pantry shelf. Inside it were a few folded papers, the final letter Emily had written but never mailed, Jacob's last drawing of their family, and a notice of divorce filing in the letter. Emily wrote that she felt alone, raising Jacob without knowing whether Michael would come home the same person, or at all. She wrote she still loved him but didn't know how to hold their lives together while living in constant fear. It wasn't anger that filled Michael as he read her words, it was sorrow and a quiet understanding. War didn't just claim lives overseas, it reached across oceans and stole things silently, taking pieces of people without warning. For weeks, Michael wandered the city trying to make sense of his new reality. He found a room to rent near a local diner, taking odd jobs to keep himself busy, but every night he returned to the room haunted by memories of laughter, of bedtime stories, of promises he had once made. Under the warm glow of family lights, he missed Jacob most of all. The little boy used to sleep on his chest and giggle whenever Michael lifted him into the air. He began searching for them, not out of anger, but out of a longing to understand, to know they were safe. To see his son again, he visited courthouses, contacted old friends, reached out to Emily's parents in Denver. But no one knew anything concrete. Some said Emily wanted a fresh start far away. Some believed she was staying with a friend. Others kept their answers vague, unsure. If Michael could handle the truth, every unanswered trail deepened the ache in his chest, but he refused to give up. He carried Jacob's drawing everywhere, folded carefully into his jacket pocket, a reminder of what he still hoped to rebuild. One cold evening, while volunteering at a veterans support center, a place he initially visited only for therapy sessions, but soon found healing in helping others, he met an elderly woman named Grace. She served meals every weekend, and her gentle way of speaking made people feel seen. She noticed the weight Michael carried before he ever spoke a word about it. With quiet patience, she encouraged him to talk, to breathe, to understand that healing wasn't linear. She reminded him that broken things could be mended, even hearts that had been stretched across continents. Through the center, Michael found structure again. He helped younger veterans struggling to adjust to civilian life, guided lost souls who reminded him too much of himself, and slowly rediscovered a version of his purpose. Even as he rebuilt himself piece by piece, the longing for Jacob remained a quiet shadow behind every step. He never stopped searching. Even when hope thinned, months passed, and one snowy afternoon, as he was helping shovel the walkway outside the center, a woman approached him with cautious steps. She wore a thick navy coat, her breath forming clouds in the winter air. For a second, Michael froze. It was Emily. Her eyes softened the moment she saw him, but there was guilt there too, and hesitation. She explained that she had come back to Boise to visit an old friend, and had learned through someone that Michael volunteered at the center. Her voice trembled as she apologized for leaving so abruptly, for taking Jacob without giving Michael closure. She admitted she was terrified of losing him to war, terrified of raising a child alone, terrified of watching him break, and being powerless to fix him. Hearing her speak, Michael felt emotions swell inside him: relief, grief, love, anger, understanding all at once. He told her he wasn't angry, only hurt, and that the emptiness he returned to had been far colder than any battlefield. Emily said Jacob was living with her in Spokane, safe and healthy, growing fast, asking questions about his father she didn't always know how to answer. She invited Michael to come meet him, not as a stranger, but as the father he had always been. In the weeks that followed, Michael traveled to Spokane and saw Jacob for the first time in nearly 2 years. The moment he saw his son standing shyly behind Emily's legs, holding a small stuffed bear, something inside him reignited. Something warm, bright, impossible to describe. Jacob approached him slowly, then reached up to touch the dog tags hanging around Michael's neck. In that touch, the weight of every lonely night, every unspoken fear, every battle fought in silence, softened. Jacob eventually threw his arms around his father, and Michael held him as though he could hold together all the broken pieces of time they had lost. Rebuilding wasn't easy. It took patience, counseling, long conversations, apologies spoken and unspoken, and days when emotional exhaustion made them question everything. But step by step, they found their way back, not to the life they once had, but to a new one built with more understanding, more tenderness, and more courage than before. Emily remained cautious, while Michael worked tirelessly to be present, grounded, and gentle with both her and Jacob. They didn't rush. They simply learned how to be a family again, even if that family looked different. Now, if this story touched your heart or reminded you of the power of love, healing, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support truly keeps this channel alive. Please comment below what part of this story moved you the most. In the end, Michael realized something profound. Not all wars happen on distant soil. Some battles are fought in the quiet rooms of our homes, in the fragile spaces of our relationships, and inside the depths of our own hearts. And sometimes the greatest victory is not returning home, it is rebuilding it.